Hey everyone, it's Avalon, and today I'm going to be doing a plant-related Q&A. Basically on Instagram I asked you guys to send me questions related and not related to plants, anything you wanted to know. So I'm going to go through those and have a talk about them. I also want to show you the recent seeds I've been receiving from various plant people. So jumping into the Q&A, I've just got the questions on my phone, so I'll just show you those. So getting into the questions, so the first question I got was from Root Your Plant on Instagram, and they asked about the plants I don't like and why. So I have a few. The first one that came to mind is a plant that I think it's just for aesthetic reasons, I don't know, but I just hate it. Kudos to you if you love it and you have loads of them. I'm sure there are plants that I have that people hate, but the top plant I don't like are crotons. I just think they look sick. I think their leaf shape is really weird. I just don't like them in houses. I don't like them in gardens. Yeah, there's a part of me that shrivels up inside when I see one. I don't really know why. I just think they're really fuggly plants. No offense to crotons. The other plant I don't like is controversial, but is the fiddle leaf fig. I don't like the way that the new leaves come out and how they have the speckles. And in saying that as well, I work in content curation for a plant company. So I basically select photos based on whatever brief I'm given. And one of the briefs that I get given every week is interior design involving plants and plant styling. So I look for the best and upcoming photographs that kind of represent that, or articles or videos. And something that pops up so many times, and I think this is why I'm sick of fiddle leaf figs, are those plants. I feel like they're in every house, and I think I'm just sick of looking at them, to be honest. And I feel like I'd kill one if I had it. The next question is by alocasias, and basically someone's getting their first alocasia and was wondering if I had any tips. I think the biggest things with alocasias is firstly knowing that they go dormant in winter, which means that they will drop most of or all of their leaves and they'll just remain as a tuber. Just wait for that airplane to go past. We live directly under the flight path. Cool. And then the second thing to remember is that they have a very fast turnaround of leaves. So if you have a leaf that's going yellow, don't worry. It often means that there's a new leaf coming up. If there isn't, then it could be a watering issue. But generally their leaves die off and they grow new ones very quickly. And that kind of ratio will always remain the same. So for example, my Alocasia regulina, Remus, he will only ever have 2 or 3 leaves at one time. The other tip I have for alocasias is, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the ice cream truck. Okay, so my other tip is that to keep them in a really bright, indirect light. Mine are all near the window. They really love it. Direct sun will often burn their leaves, so I just get really bright light. So the next question I was asked was, what is my favourite plant nursery in Sydney? My favourite plant nursery would definitely be the Newtown Garden Markets. I think they have an excellent range of really healthy plants. Just really wonderful varieties. You can often find something that's a little bit more rare there. But my other kind of place that isn't necessarily a nursery is Maythorani Plants. She's someone who really got me interested in the plant world. I think she has an excellent collection, excellent knowledge of plants. If there is a plant you want, it's most likely she'll be able to source it for you. I just love her. A lot of my plants are from her. The rest of my plants actually are from collectors. So collectors usually up in Queensland because they have the cheapest plants and the best variety and like tropical climate. So most of the plants that I have and most of the plants you'll see in my houseplant tour have actually come from collectors, or they've come online in some form. So whether I've done a trade or someone has posted something in a buy and sell group, that's where most of my plants come from. The next question is favourite propagation method for different plants. For begonias, I like water propagation just because I find them super fussy. I find that they're not the biggest fan of high humidity. It kind of depends what type. Not that I've done much. I've done some begonia maculatas and they grow really well in water. And it's great that a lot of begonias you can propagate just from the leaf, which is super exciting. So that's kind of what I like to do for them. I'm no way experienced in begonias. I really don't know what I'm doing for them. But someone else also asked how to propagate. So I have my propagation box here. This is my propagation box, and this is what sphagnum moss looks like. So this is what sphagnum moss looks like. I'm actually kind of allergic to it, so rip my hands right now. But basically it's just a moss form. It's actually got antibacterial properties, which makes no sense for my hands, but if you're ever in the wild, you can put this on a wound and it will protect it. But essentially, sphagnum moss is excellent because it maintains moisture and heat, and it's perfect for aroids which have a lot of aerial roots. So basically, I got this giant box from Bunnings, and I've got a whole lot of things in here. So I've got some heartleaf philodendron. This is a painted lady. This is my pink princess. I've got a silver sword philodendron. Some Monstera siltepecana, and then if you see there, I also have some tiny pink princess pieces. I recently chopped up my pink princess, and as you can see, there's that little pink bit is where there will be some new growth. I chopped up all the nodes because it was just really sick, and already by having it in here, all these pieces, I'll show you another one. So this is the setup that I've got, and then basically, so just moisten the sphagnum moss and then just place kind of the base or where the node is in the sphagnum moss. So for example, these pieces can just be laid on top because they've got no leaves, but if you have the leaves, you just want the leaves poking out, and then just the bottom surrounded by sphagnum moss. And then I just have this lid. So that basically maintains the humidity. And then it has these little bits on top. I should be sponsored by Bunnings, let's face it. And you can open or close them depending on how hot it is, or if you want to reduce or raise the humidity. So other than propagation, someone else asked, I want to start growing a plant collection, but I have no idea where to start. Do you have any tips? I'm assuming that's where the rest of that question was going. I think I only started my plant collection about a year ago, and I didn't know anything about plants. So the way I started was I simply bought a few plants at a market. So whether you know a market or a nursery, just basically pick up a few plants. I definitely recommend something like a peace lily, a devil's ivy, maybe a simple alocasia, just as many basic simple plants. And I think it's really important to spend some time with those first plants just to understand how they work. I think I've spent a lot of the past year just observing the way that plants grow, and that's how I've learned the most. And I think starting with these basic plants is really important because you need to work your way up. So I definitely didn't start growing anthurium seeds as soon as I started owning plants, or I didn't own an anthurium crystallinum or a philodendron melanochrysum as soon as I started my plant collection, because I wasn't ready to. I didn't have the knowledge for that. And I think it's really important to know in yourself when or what level of plant growth and plant understanding you're at. So there are still plants now that I know that I wouldn't buy, or I'm only just thinking about buying. For example, a philodendron verrucosum. So definitely buy some entry-level plants, watch them, get them to a point where they're growing well, and then when you feel comfortable with that, move on to kind of plants that are harder to look after. The final question is, where do you get all your plants from? I'm poor and need cheap ones. Well, my plants are not, to be honest, the most I've ever spent on a plant is $60. So in the plant world, that's actually, like, in the collector's world, that's pretty cheap, but obviously for the everyday person, that's kind of expensive. So I definitely recommend May Thorani Plants. She now has an online store, and I bought from her before, and she's great. I definitely recommend her in Australia. I also recommend More Plants. That's another plant place that I've purchased from, and they've just got decent prices on their plants. Facebook Marketplace is another place to look at for cheap plants. People will often be selling their plants. I sell some of my plants, so keep an eye out for me and what I will sell. What else? I think the key to buying cheap plants is don't get caught up in these kind of weird trends that we have in the plant community. So like pillias, your fiddle leaf figs, your pink princesses, for example. 6 months ago you could find a pink princess and it would be tiny and it was being sold for like $60, $70. If you feel like something's too expensive, it most likely is. So chat with people who have been in the plant community. If you are unsure of whether you're getting something for a decent price, please message me and I can tell you, because often if there is a new trend coming up, what people will do is they'll get their hands on as many of that one plant that everyone wants as possible, and they'll raise the prices. And people who don't know about the pricing of plants will think they're getting a good deal on it. But honestly, right now, if you're buying a pink princess philodendron, that is like relatively small for anything over honestly $30–40, you're spending too much. And it's hard when you live in a rural area or somewhere that's not a city, but definitely those brands I talked about, I'll link them in the description. There's also Houseplant Hoarders and Green Beans. There are two others that I love, the Leafery Room as well, and the Botanical Grocer. So I'll link all of those, but definitely check them all out. They have, and then the final question, it was, what is your favorite plant? Wait for the airplane. This is a hard one. Actually, there are two more questions because there's another one that I think is quite interesting. My favorite plant, that's a hard question. I think my favorite plant is a Philodendron melanochrysum. I think they're just utterly stunning. And if you ever see a mature, like a fully mature form climbing up a tree, it's just the most beautiful sight. I love, that's my most favorite plant that I own. But I do love most philodendrons and anthuriums. A plant that I don't own that I think is stunning is the Philodendron Spiritus sancti. I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. My friends over in America, so your local plant boy, who owns with his boyfriend Arium Intent, they have a beautiful specimen of this philodendron, and it's just incredible. It's an endangered species and I love it, and I like to think one day it'll make it into this country and I can own even a baby one. I'll take that. Anyway, that's the end of the plant Q&A. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. I'll probably do a part 2 of this in a couple of months, so just message me if you have any questions. But the final thing I want to show you are all my seed collections. So as you can see inside there are lots of those little yellow seeds with the little green bit coming out. That's essentially where the root is forming. These are anthurium veitchii plants, so that's going to be super exciting to see them grow. I've got quite a few in there. Essentially what I do with these with seeds is that I place them on a layer of sphagnum moss, and then I just put, this isn't the lid that fits, but I put the lid on top just to make sure that it is creating a humid environment and that it's an enclosed one. What I like to do as well is label them and also the date that they were sown into the jar, just because I like to know how fast they're growing, if there's anything I can do, or if there are any problems. So that's kind of what it looks like. What's super exciting is these guys. So they're almost a month old, which is so cute. Let me open it. It's like having babies. As you can see, all my little crystallinum babies have been putting out leaves, which is super exciting. Again, this is on a bed of sphagnum moss. I'm so excited for these to grow up, and I will be selling / trading a few, so comment if you're interested. So as you can see, there is a tiny little leaf. It's so adorable. There are all the roots at the top, and then it's put out one leaf and it's on its way to putting out another. As you can see, it's already got the heart shape that is familiar with crystallinums, so I'm super excited to see all of these grow. And they're all just really happy in there. There are so many roots, which is amazing, so many leaves, so I'm super excited to see how these go. Only one of them didn't work out, so out of the 10 I was sent, 9 of them have germinated and grown. So hopefully out of those 9, at least like 6 or 7 will turn into large plants. The final thing I have is some Dischidia seeds, so I'll see if it'll, these are really interesting funky looking seeds. So as you can see, they're thinner and they don't look like anthurium seeds. So they came out in a seed pod and they were kind of almost like dandelion fluff. When you blow a dandelion, that's kind of what it looked like. Anyway, they're all putting out little leaves, which is so cute, especially because these leaves are going to be essentially, these plants have a symbiotic relationship with ants, so they puff up and basically the ants build tunnels inside them. So these leaves aren't going to look like your typical leaves, but in general, this is what it looks like, and you can see all those little leaves growing, so I'm so excited about those. Anyway, and then the final ones I have, shout out to this awesome Dischidia some varieties that I recently was sent. They're awesome. But coming over here, I also have anthurium bakery seeds, and then I also have anthurium lucens. So essentially all of these just sit like jars on my mantelpiece. Sometimes I put them near the windowsill as well. It just kind of depends what they want. But I am really lucky to be receiving some seeds next week as well. A beautiful friend of mine, Olive, she is sending me some variegated anthurium seeds and some philodendron, some type of philodendron, which name I have forgotten. Begins with S, like stenolobum. That's probably very wrong, but stunning variety. So I'm really excited to be growing those. And hopefully some more Dischidia. I think they're a really funky plant. I definitely recommend you getting into seeds. If you can get your hands on some, it's just so rewarding to watch them. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something about alocasias or my seed collection or propagation. If you have any other questions, please comment below, and please make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want more content about plants. My DMs are always open as well on my Instagram at plantswithavalon. If I'm not uploading on YouTube, I'm definitely uploading photos and information on my Instagram. So please go check that out as well. And yeah, have a good day.